Hello TBE Network, and welcome to the TBE Podcast, where we share thought-provoking stories, strategies, and ideas, as well as engage with insightful leaders from a wide range of fields and businesses across Africa. If the topics of entrepreneurship, business, startups, property, marketing, or finance interest you, then you have tuned into the right place. Welcome back, TBE listeners. We hope you guys have thoroughly enjoyed our previous episodes. We're so overwhelmed with the response. And today we have Nomndeni Mdaki, who is a young entrepreneur from South Africa, and we're really excited to get into it with her. But first, a bit about Nomndeni. She's a South African entrepreneur who started her business journey by starting Fuse Academy, which I believe was a DJing school for girls in 2009. Mm-hmm. I want to come back to that, but in 2011 you started Edits Communication, which basically linked brands with influencers, and you helped the likes of Ogilvy, Oros, Jamison, just to name a few. But we can touch on that some more. And then in 2017 you started Agenda Women, and I'm going to read exactly what I've got here because I don't want to mess it up. Agenda Women is an online platform curated for a tribe of modern working women looking for a community that will help them navigate the evolving dynamics of being a woman through the lens of the community's shared experience. Mm-hmm. So let's get straight into it. How did you come up with the idea for Agenda Women, and what was your mission and your vision at the beginning of starting it? And in your process and your experience up until now, how is that mission and vision being realized for you?
It's so funny that you asked me that, because I literally was working on a caption for a picture that I'm supposed to put up on Instagram, which is not up yet. But I was just talking about how, as an entrepreneur, a lot of our businesses start off as, we're passionate about solving a problem.
Right.
And a lot of the times we think, and I was listening to how I built this with Guy Raz driving here, and a lot of entrepreneurs, we live in our heads, right? We think this is a huge problem when it's our problem and it has to be resolved.
Sure.
And that's where it begins, right? And then you have to do the due diligence and the work of then understanding the market better. Am I the only crazy person that's seeing this as a problem, or is there a tribe of people who really have the same problem? And businesses are then built on that, solving a problem,
yeah.
And is the market big enough, right? Because
Right.
It's not just enough to solve a problem if it's a problem for 5 people.
Sure.
So when I started Agenda Women, it was a personal quest where there were a lot of changes happening for me personally as a female entrepreneur. And when I say as a female entrepreneur, these are not changes that were just happening in my professional life. There were changes in my personal life as well. And the more I thought about it, and the more I tried to resolve some of the problems that I was having, I thought, where do other women go? Especially speaking to older women, just the way that they thought I should be dealing with things was so old school, and I just felt like there's so many changes taking place. You see Naomi Osaka talking about just mental health, and
Right,
it's a whole new thing where people are just like, what? Are you going to choose mental health over work? There's just a lot of new conversations, and I thought there was a need for us to build a home for the modern woman, to figure out where to go when they're looking for solutions and they're looking for community, and they want to find other women that look like them going through similar experiences,
Sure.
to kind of share how it is that they're dealing with some of these challenges that we're all facing.
Yeah, that's so cool. I mean, I can just hear in the way that you're speaking, you're passionate about it. You're clearly very ambitious and very driven. And I think the word entrepreneur has been such a buzzword for so long now. And I think I'd love for you to explain to our listeners, what has inspired you in your life to be entrepreneurial, to push for success, in the short time that you've been kind of entrepreneurial, if I can say, you've done so much. So what is the driving force or the inspiration behind that?
For me, Cameron, it was never about the label entrepreneur versus me just trying to find solutions to problems that I was coming across and wanting to bring along as many people as I possibly can.
Yeah.
When you listen to a lot of entrepreneurial stories, it starts with what we're experiencing in our own lives, and then thinking, can I solve this problem for more than just myself?
Right.
So I come from an entrepreneurial family, but I wasn't even conscious about it when I became an entrepreneur, because, you're raised in a family and you have to go to school and you have to get a job. And also, I'm raised in the 80s. There wasn't much conversation around what adults were doing, you know.
Yeah.
Looking back now, there's so much that I'm connecting for myself. Like, everyone was an entrepreneur around me, but I just didn't see it as something that I understood or aspired to as a young person. But when I started working, which was for 2 seconds, I worked at MultiChoice, and then I moved to Discovery Health, and I was like, this is not for me. I'm just not employable. That was the first thing for me. I recognized that I was not employable. I was always interested in what the business vision is. Like, what are we doing to take it forward? How big can we go? What is Adrian Gore thinking? You know, how did MultiChoice...
Why can't I speak to Adrian Gore right now?
Let me tell you, literally, it's like you live in my mind, because that's exactly the thing for me. I was like, why can't I talk to this guy?
Yeah.
And I remember there was a program at Discovery where they wanted to get the guys on the ground, the employees, to have conversations with the executive team. And I think what in hindsight now, I recognize the executive team was having issues on the ground, and they just wanted to have a direct line. So they wanted people that they could bring together who could have conversations with them with what the challenges were and work with them in resolving those challenges. And I think at the time there were 3,000 people working for Discovery, and they wanted 18 people, and I made the list. And I remember my direct manager saying, "Oh, you're not good enough to send to this program. We want to send the best person in the team." And I wrote my resignation letter the following day, because for me it was like, well, these are not the rules that I want to follow. And that's how I left my job. It wasn't because I wanted to be an entrepreneur. It was because I recognized that the space that I was in was not working for me. And that's how I started my first business, which was a DJing school. And it was then that I recognized that this is home for me. I love creating processes. I love solving problems. I love seeing things grow. I love the challenge of entrepreneurship. It wakes me up, and it fires me up, and I couldn't do anything else.
Sure, that's awesome. I mean, it's so interesting. I mean, I'm hesitant to draw a link because it's such a tenuous link, but you talk about like a business needing to solve problems, and in a way, recognizing that you were unemployable, you didn't see yourself as now an entrepreneur. You just did something to solve that problem for yourself. You created things as you went along that spoke to the fact that you didn't want to work for someone, or there were all these sort of various elements that didn't speak to you as someone who probably wanted to get out there, create the processes, work with people, take them along the journey with you.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's actually amazing that you put it that way. I'd never thought about it that way myself, but it really has been that. My journey has been that. It's been me constantly looking at what is the solution for the problem that I'm having. And because I'm not the kind of person that likes complaining, you won't find me in a room talking about, oh, this country is going to hell and this and that. I'm always curious about what makes the country get to the situation that we're in, and what can we do as citizens or as people who have access to powerful people, maybe if you do have access to powerful people, to change this around. And if you have access to young people, what can we do to change things around? Is it even something that is solvable? You know, my brain works like that. I'm always thinking about what can we do to solve the problem.
Right. That's awesome. And I want to touch a bit on kind of edits for a second. You know, we said in the intro it was about hooking up brands with influencers, and I think in this day and age, marketing is a blend of so many things now, and you have to belong to the social platforms, and I think a lot of people feel like they have to belong to the social platforms, but maybe they don't. I don't know. So maybe you can talk us through the marketing channels that you use and that you find effective, and maybe touch on the channels that maybe people don't know about, or what companies should be using to get their message out there.
Yeah, I think for me, we have to kind of simplify. When it comes to marketing, you need to start with the basics, right? What are the objectives? What are you trying to get done, right? Are you trying to reach people? Are you trying to convert people to a particular movement? Are you trying to sell a particular product? For me, it always just shocks me how much people don't ask the basic questions, and they're very quick to look at what's on trend. So right now what's on trend is obviously social media, but the question I always tell, I do a little bit of business coaching on the side, and I say a little bit because I get a lot of people asking me, and I can't accommodate everyone. I just choose some woman here and there to help navigate how to launch their businesses sometimes, because maybe I'm passionate about what they're doing. And I always say we need to start with the basics. We need to just go to the level, to the bottom level and ask the critical questions versus saying, how do I do social media? Do you even need social media? Is your audience on social media?
Yeah.
If you're looking at a target audience that is a little bit maybe over 40, a lot of those people are not using social media the same way that 20-year-olds are using social media. So it's important to understand your audience. I think the consumer is king in any business. The person that you're selling to is king, whether that's another business or that's a B2C model. You have to understand your consumer. So before we even get into the antics of what platforms and what do you do for marketing, you just have to understand, where's your consumer? What are they interested in? Why do they want to solve this problem? How critical is it for them? What does their day look like? And how often are they going to engage with your brand? And what is the problem that you're trying to solve, and how best do you articulate that for them? Right. Versus looking at trends, think about your consumer first. Who are they? Where are they? What do they care about? And always engage your consumer. Go to the places where they are, understand them intrinsically so that you know how to solve problems for them. Before we even get into the marketing jargon and all of those things, consumer is critical, and the basic understanding of who they are and what they care about is going to be crucial for your business being successful.
Yeah, and I think sometimes if your consumer or your market isn't on social media, then it can almost be like, because a company might feel like they have to be on social media, Instagram, TikTok, but they're not putting in the necessary time, money, and resources into those platforms, can almost also be kind of demoralizing for a company to log onto their Instagram and see 30 followers.
Or no activity.
Or nothing. And also from potential consumers that might be consumers going to those platforms and seeing such little activity, also then decreases, I would imagine, the trust with that company, versus maybe just a website that can really display their product beautifully or their service beautifully.
Absolutely. And there's many tangents that you can add into what you already have as a business, right? So if maybe your website is your gold mine and you're struggling with traffic going to your website, it still goes back to, who are you trying to get onto your website? Are they on Facebook? Are they in a street corner? Are they in a conference somewhere? You'd rather invest in marketing at a conference with 20,000 people who fit your demographic than putting all that money on social media. For instance, with Agenda Woman, our primary channel is Instagram. So when you go on our Twitter, it's pathetic. When you go on our Facebook, it's pathetic. When you go on our LinkedIn, it's pathetic. But where we are putting a lot of our attention is our Instagram, because we know that's where a large chunk of our audience is.
Yeah.
Not that we are neglecting the other platforms. We're going to evolve into understanding how our audience engages with those platforms at a later stage. There's no need for you to just be on everything. Like, we don't even have a TikTok account, although TikTok is really big. But we have to spend time understanding how our audience is engaging with those platforms. Is it necessary for us to put energy into making content for those platforms? But for right now, Instagram is what works, and that's where we're focusing our energy for the brand.
Okay, so Agenda Woman hosts various online conversations and events. And although this might be a bit of a broad question, maybe you can give us some insight into how you approach conversations and events for Agenda Woman and in that space that you operate.
Yeah, that's very interesting, Cameron, because that was a problem that we had. That was an evolution. It wasn't a problem at the beginning because we didn't know we had a problem in this particular space, but it was an evolution. At the beginning, when I started Agenda Woman, it was an evolution from Edith's Talks. And Edith's Talks was really me having engaged on social media, seeing that a lot of people were tuned into these deep conversations around just evolving and figuring out how to do work, figuring out how to be a mom, figuring out how to be a wife, a girlfriend, all these multiple roles that we take up as we get into adulting, which no one prepares us for. I just thought, I missed the engagement when I had finished a particular cause where I had a hashtag that was going on for about 30 days. I then put out a call to action on my Instagram saying, if you want to hang out with me, just drop me an email and we'll put something together. And I thought I'm going to have like 20 girls. And then at the end of the day, I had 100 emails of people saying they want to hang out.
That's awesome.
And then I had no format, right? I was just like, oh my gosh, I was thinking we're going to do a brunch with 20 girls and we're going to sit around and they're just going to chat. And then I got my team to put together something and we did an event. I had an an amazing assistant who got everything for free. She went on Google and she called people literally. She was that badass. And the first event was just, I partnered with Destiny. It was a conversation. The second one was similar. But the more I engaged with my audience, the more I started just looking at the feedback, what they're saying about the events, how it was empowering, which parts were empowering. I started to think about, okay, how do we make this something that is where we can measure the effectiveness, right? And become more impactful. So as we did the events, I recognized that, number one, because we didn't have capacity, we were a small team at the time, and we didn't also have financial capacity to put these together all the time. And ticketing is not going to drive revenue for any business, it's just going to take care of the small things. I traveled to New York to look at a platform that was similar to what I was doing. And when I came back, I just thought, I think it makes sense to have a smaller, intimate engagements through the year and one big event, and that came from just trial and error. And I think that's another thing entrepreneurs need to get comfortable with, trial and error. You don't have to figure things out at the beginning. It will never be perfect at the beginning because you're still figuring, you're getting to know your consumer. It's like a relationship, there's a lot of mess ups at the beginning and you get to know each other and you understand each other better. And that's what I'm completely comfortable with. I'm comfortable with failing. I've been an entrepreneur for 11 years and I'm building Agenda Woman very differently from my other businesses. And it's completely on a trial and error basis. All the apps that we're working on, that's why there's always an update on Instagram, because they're learning something new all the time around how we're engaging with the platform. And I just want entrepreneurs to understand that and approach business building in a similar way, that it is going to be trial and error, so that they eliminate the anxiety of failing. It's going to happen.
Right. Yeah, it's so interesting. And I mean, so Agenda Woman is clearly picking up and you're finding out the dynamics that work for you guys. Being the TBE podcast, I'd love to chat about your relationship with TBE a little bit. Just find out how you've grown with TBE potentially, how you found the experience with TBE. I think you said you're in 98, Rivonia?
Yes, that's where I am.
Yeah.
So, TBE, the timing of my engagement to TBE was quite perfect in that last year was crazy. 2020 was a crazy year and we were stuck at home.
Why? What happened?
Oh my gosh. I mean, can we talk about that? If you're listening to this and it is 2050, don't ask about 2020.
Yeah.
It was horrible. So we were stuck at home the whole year and I was really starting to feel the work from home fatigue, I have a beautiful home. I'm blessed with a beautiful home. I have a beautiful office, but I missed being around other entrepreneurs and the energy of other people who are creating, bumping into people in the hallway and just talking about what they're doing, seeing other people.
It's inspiring.
It's so inspiring to be in a space that is, number one, beautiful. I am obsessed with beautiful things. If you follow Agenda Woman on Instagram, if you have engaged with Agenda Woman on any platform, aesthetic is critical. I think the way that we build things makes people feel a particular way. So even if you've been to an Agenda Woman event, I always say when women walk into the room, I want them to feel like we thought about everything. When you build beautiful spaces, you make people feel like they matter when they walk into those spaces. For me, when I walked into TBE for the first time, I was like, okay, number one, it is just beautiful. Before we get to anything, it is beautiful. The consideration, the arts, the architecture.
And that's true for all the locations.
Let me tell you.
I've been to all of them and it's always, can I have an office here, please?
Let me tell you, when I walked in here this morning, I was just like, this is TBE. Right. The consideration of the space, that matters to me. For me to be inspired, I need to be in beautiful places. And that was the first thing that drove me to be part of this environment. And then just the stuff, the professionalism, the care in everything that they do. You feel like you're home, right. The constant update, it feels like a community. And I mean, having a platform like Agenda Woman already demonstrates how much I care about community. I chose to be part of this network of entrepreneurs because of just that. It's community, it's the space and how it inspires creativity and just the people that work for this organization. It's been amazing. They've taken care of me in a beautiful way.
That's so cool.
Yeah, but did I say it was beautiful?
Yes.
Okay.
Nomndeni, we're coming to the end of the chat, but I would love you to just offer our listeners, particularly our young female entrepreneurs, some words of advice. Give them some information or suggestions that you've learned in your journey.
Number one, I think there's a lot of opportunity for female entrepreneurs right now. I don't know what it's going to look like in the future, but I believe that there's opportunity. And for anyone, there's a lot of people that lost their jobs who are flirting with entrepreneurship right now, who are building side hustles. I just want people to know that there's opportunity. There is freedom to create a life for yourself and your family that you might not have the opportunity to if you're in a corporate environment, that might not be supportive of what your personal needs are. And outside of that, as you attempt entrepreneurship, you need to just take it easy, relax. It's going to be a roller coaster. You're going to fail. You're going to fall flat on your face. You're not going to put on makeup for months and months because you don't even want to know what that is about. It will test you. It will strengthen you. It will make you bold. And did I say you're going to fail? Many, many times. And it's okay. That is the journey. The glitz and glamour of entrepreneurship that you see sometimes being modeled by people who have succeeded is not really the journey, Be authentic to yourself, be authentic to what you want to solve as a problem. And that's the passion that's going to drive you. That's what's going to keep you coming back. And just don't be afraid of failing. Go ahead and fail many times. It's going to make you a badass individual the more you get familiar and you dance with it.
Well, I think that's such awesome advice. I mean, I often catch myself sometimes just so frustrated with being in a certain place or having my business be in a certain position. And it's almost like, we have this idea that success is the goal. But I've seen people succeed and then lose it all, and it's I think it's about building this kind of resilience and this almost weirdly enough, this pleasure in the struggle, if you can enjoy that struggle and constantly be kind of have friction and constantly grinding into that. I think you'll be able to far outlast anyone else who just goes, it's too hard. And I think that's such awesome advice. Nomndeni, I really want to thank you for this chat. It's been so pleasurable from my side. I think there'll be a lot of valuable information that our listeners will get out of it. Maybe you want to just let people know where they can reach you.
I am always on Instagram.
Aren't we on Instagram right now?
I am on Instagram right now, recording this live. My handle on Instagram is @Nomndeni. You can also follow Agenda Woman on Instagram @AgendaWoman. And then we do have a website where we house a lot of our content, which is www.agendawomen.com. And that's potentially where you'll get any reaction from me.
Are you still DJing?
I know how to DJ. I've never DJ'd. No.
Maybe TBE
I would
can
make
get
so
you at the
much
next
money.
year-end event.
Please, make me famous, TBE. Please make me famous. I would make so much money if I DJ'd, but it's wild. It's not as easy as people think it is. Just building other DJs' personal brands. I'm just like wildlife. National Geographic. Not doing it.
Nomndeni, thank you so much. I have no doubt we'll have you on in future, but thank you so much.
You're welcome, Cameron. This was fun.
All right. Catch you on the next one, guys.